Hi everyone, Nicholas here. In this video, we are going to be doing a part 2 of our series of the Manners series. Every year on May 17th, there's a series, Manners series. Please make sure that y'all please like the video, please. Subscribe to my channel, please. And follow me over on my Instagram. So let's start. Good morning in Portuguese. Bom dia. Bom dia. B-O-M space D-I-A. Good morning in Brazilian Portuguese. Bom dia. Bom dia. B-O-M space D-I-A. Bom dia. Bom dia. If you realized as well, right here, when you say the word bom in Brazilian Portuguese, the word bom means good. So yeah, so that's how you would say good morning in Portuguese. Bom dia. Bom dia. So that means good morning in Brazilian Portuguese. When you say bom dia in Brazilian Portuguese, dia is a masculine word for day, and bom is a masculine form of good. So that is why it feels like you're saying good day, but it's in context of when you're saying it in a greeting of good morning, because it's in the masculine form of a word. While you're going to say the upcoming ones that I'm going to be teaching you in this lesson, there's an A at the end. We can learn more about this in the future, but this is interesting. This is just a chart for y'all to see about the nouns that ends on A and nouns that ends on O. Alright, next one over here. Good afternoon in Portuguese. Boa tarde. Boa tarde. B-O-A space T-A-R-D-E. Boa tarde. Boa tarde. So there's an A at the end right there. It's because of that. It does not exist when you say the word bom tarde. Like, it won't make sense if you say that in that context. So instead, you would have an A at the end on the other ones that are coming up here that I'm going to go over here for y'all. And also, if you noticed right here, this word right here in Brazilian Portuguese, tarde. Tarde, which means late. So it's obviously, you can like use that word as well in Brazilian Portuguese when you say late. So late in Brazilian Portuguese, tarde, which means late. So yeah, pretty cool, right? So again, good afternoon in Portuguese. Boa tarde. Boa tarde. And that's how you would say good afternoon in Brazilian Portuguese. B-O-A space T-A-R-D-E. Boa tarde. Boa tarde. Good afternoon. Alright, so before we go into the next one here, just so you know that in Brazilian Portuguese, we have the next two vocabulary words here up there that are the same, because you would say one if you're still going to see someone, if you're going to see someone or greeting someone to see them during that time. And the other one is when you're leaving. So just so you know, both of those, the ones that I'm teaching y'all here, are going to be the same as you would say the other one. So just so you know. But first, I'm going to teach you the one that you are going to greet someone as you're arriving, just walking by, or you're seeing someone. Say that. Good evening in Brazilian Portuguese. Boa noite. Boa noite. And again, we still pronounce and say the word boa. We do not say bon noite. That would not make sense, and that would be rude as well when you're just saying it like in a way, like in a really bad way, or when you're saying like that, bon noite. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. It's like you're just slammed the door right in front of someone. Like, instead of you doing the good manners, but we'd have to just, it just won't make sense. You're just gonna say bon noite. Like, that's really rude. You would say boa noite. So it's a more politely way as well when you say boa. And same thing when you say afternoon, bom tarde. Like, that just doesn't sound right. When you say good evening and you're still seeing someone, you're greeting someone when you're arriving, you're still seeing them, you're going to say boa noite. Boa noite. Now the thing as well that you can also say, you could say oi, boa noite. Tudo bem com você? Also try to say hello, good evening, and how are you doing? So you know what I mean? Like all I'm saying, you were just good evening if you're still gonna see some. Because in Brazilian Portuguese, boa noite is used in both because the language doesn't distinguish between the two. In Portuguese, doesn't distinguish like it does. Just gonna write. But in English, when you say good night, which is the one that you just put your sons or daughters to sleep and you kiss them a good night's sleep. But you would only say good evening if you're seeing some. But in Portuguese, it's different. You're still saying boa noite. You're still saying boa noite because it's considered a night. Now, if you're leaving, it's the same thing. You would still say boa noite if you're leaving. You know what I mean? Like, that's the difference. That's the difference when you say this one right here, boa noite, the one that you're going to greet someone and you're greeting them as in you're arriving, as you're starting to see them. Or if you're not going to see them after, if you're saying good night and not going to see them after, if you're going to be like, have a good night, then my boa noite, because you're not going to see them after. You know what I mean? You're not going to see them on that night, all I'm trying to say. So yeah, this is how you would spell it. B-O-A space N-O-I-T-E. Boa noite. Boa noite. B-O-A space N-O-I-T-E. Boa noite. Boa noite. So that's how you would say good evening if you're still seeing someone, and if you're not going to see them during that night. Boa noite. Alright? So before we end off this video, we have a sentence here. Last year I taught you how to say a question, but this year we are not going to the aquarium this year. This year I'm going to say something. I'm going to do this one this year. Good morning, friends in Brazilian Portuguese. Bom dia, amigos. And if you realized right here as well, you would say amigos if it's talking to the group of males. Or if you're talking to a group of females, you would have an A right there and an S. It's a plural at the end. But after the G, you would have an A if it's a female. If it's not a female, you have an O at the end if it's a male. But if it's a female, you would say amigas. Amigas. And that's at the end if it's a plural. Amigas. Amigas. So one is female, which is that one right here. So if it's a male, amigos. If it's not a plural, you would just have one. Then you would not have an S at the end. But I'm going to do the plural form. If it's a plural, amigos. A-M-I-G-O-S. Amigos. Amigos. So again, if there's like a group of females as well that's with males as well, then you would also say amigos because they're together. Or you could also say as well, if they're mixed up with them, you can also say separately. You could say amigos y amigas as well. Friends, you could say like friends and friends. You could be like amigos, the one with the O after the G, and then after the other one with an A after the G. If it's also male and female together with the group, you could say it like that too. So yeah, mixed up if it's male or female, mixed up together, both of them. Alright, so this is how you would spell this. B-O-M space D-I-A space A-M-I-G-O. And remember, if it's not a plural, you would say just amigo, or if it's a female, you would say amigas. But if it's a plural, you would have an S at the end. That's how you would say friends, plural in Brazilian and Portuguese. Alright, well, let's do a review here, and then yeah, we are going to end off this video. Again, good morning in Brazilian Portuguese. Bom dia. Bom dia. And I already taught you how to spell it. It's B-O-M space D-I-A. Bom dia. Bom dia. Alright, next one over here. Good afternoon in Portuguese. Boa tarde. Boa tarde. And I also talked about the words here, the last three ones here, or the last few ones over here, which is the ones that ends with the letter A at the end. It's because the word box does not exist in the Portuguese language in this context when you're saying it, and it will be really rude if you say bom tarde. Like, that's really rude. So that's why you will not say like bom tarde, bom noite, like in a way when you're greeting someone. And it does not exist in the Portuguese context. Greet people in a nicer way, like I just taught you right here. Boa tarde. B-O-A space T-A-R-D-E. Boa tarde. Boa tarde. And then we also went over as well on how we would say good evening in Brazilian Portuguese, which is the one that you're going to greet someone and you're still seeing them during that time. If you're going to still see them arriving somewhere. Boa noite. Boa noite. B-O-A space N-O-I-T-E. Boa noite. Boa noite. When you're arriving. So like if you're arriving for a party or if you're arriving for dinner or whatever you're doing during that, you would say that. You're still going to see that person during that time. It's evening. But it's considered noite in Brazilian Portuguese because it's considered night because it's during become night. That is why it doesn't distinguish between the two of when you say in English good night or, good eve. That's why that it does not distinguish in Portuguese because you would just use both of them. That's why. And good night, it's the same thing right here, but you're not going to see them anymore. You're going to be leaving. Boa noite. Boa noite. And yeah, you would just say that if you're not going to see them or if you leave. And then we went over the sentence here. Good morning, friends. Bom dia, amigos. Or, like I said, you could say amigos e amigas. Amigos e amigas. And we also went over with the O after the G right there. If there's an O after the G, that is a male, or you use it as well in a group of mixed people if it's a female as well. And then you would use an A after the G because you would use that if it's a group of females. If it's also an S at the end as well, that means it's a plural. If there's no S at the end, it is not a plural. Alright, well, hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, you know the drill. There's this for a reason. Like, sign in, just if you're generous enough to do that. Subscribe to the channel. Yeah, follow me on my Instagram, and I will see you all next time.